I have the pleasure of being joined by Spanish football expert Alan Feehely. How's it going?
Not too bad, Dan. We're 2, 3 weeks into the season now, so we've got enough information available to us to properly kind of get a grip on things. So yeah, looking forward to discussing the beginning to La Liga season and obviously specifically to Barcelona season with you.
Well, yeah, after winning 4-0 against Real Valladolid, I don't think too many Kool-Aids are really popping off as if that result dictates exactly how successful Barcelona is going to be this season. When you look at how unsuccessful Real Valladolid will, I think there was a lot of kind of checking egos at the door when it came to Kool-Aids after that result. However, a 4-0 win followed by a 4-1 victory against Real Sociedad, having started the year with kind of a bump on the road from Brian Vallecano, who certainly did play a well played match, a solid match. It seems to me that Barca and Real Madrid, even with Barca already dropping a point, look like a class above. So we're going to do Real Valladolid. We'll talk about all the details on that. But the bigger, broader picture so far that you're getting from around the Liga here, right? Real Betis and Villarreal, they seem to be in that next class. Maybe Osasuna too seem to be in that next class right down below Barca and Real Madrid. And then the rest, starting with Athletic Club and Atletico Madrid. And I think it's everybody else even beyond that, right? It seems like the different classes are starting to establish themselves. But again, we're 3 weeks in, ebbs and flows. Do we expect Sevilla to be this low? No. Do we expect even Valencia to be this low? Probably, right? And then who will be the relegation sides that, other than Real Valladolid, that will show themselves through time, right? Mallorca, even getting what they have 4 points right now. That's a big deal for Mallorca at this point. Looking at the lineup that they're putting out and the squad that they have. But that said, it does to me seem like it's Barca and Real Madrid, and the summer spending in the Liga. Even looking at last week, the only goal that Barca have conceded this year came at the feet of Alexander Isak, who is no longer in Spain because he went for 70 million euros to Newcastle, right? And that goal was not 70 million euros, like the deal was pretty much already done before that. But that said, it's a matter of Barca and Real Madrid as the only teams with any financial backing, and you could argue whether Barca even had that to do that, but that financial backing that Barca and Real Madrid have, that just everybody else in the Liga did not have this year with the Liga salary limitations that were put forth by the league, and every other team seemed to be hamstrung. And it seems like that is going to recreate the duopoly that we were so worried about. Is that 3 games in a bit too dramatic when I say it like that?
No, I think you're pretty right. I think that, in my perspective at least, there's basically three divisions in La Liga at the moment. There's the top two, as you mentioned, Barcelona, Real Madrid. There's kind of a cabal of teams from third place down to maybe eighth place, and I would include Atletico Madrid, Sevilla, Real Betis, Villarreal, Real Sociedad, and Osasuna, and maybe even
Mm-hmm.
Athletic Club as well. But then, aside from that top nine teams, maybe there's teams fighting relegation basically. And I really do think that, say, you have the two teams who are fighting for the title, Madrid and Barcelona. Then you have that cabal of teams I mentioned from third down to ninth or tenth, maybe if you include Valencia as well, who are fighting for the European places. Some for the Champions League places, some for the Europa League places, some for the Conference League places. But there really isn't that much between them. And there's not a great deal of quality there, to be honest with you, because Atletico obviously aren't in a great moment this season, it seems. They didn't recruit well over the summer. There doesn't seem much positivity in their own the camp. Villarreal are looking good so far, but they're notoriously inconsistent. Real Betis are having trouble registering their players financially. Sevilla are in a very poor moments. Real Sociedad are a good side, but they have problems with consistency, especially in the back half of the campaign. And then the likes of Osasuna and Athletic Club and Valencia are all big clubs and decent teams, but it remains to be seen whether they can maintain that challenge over the course of a 38 game season. And then if you look at the bottom half of the table, from say maybe from 11th place to 20, literally anybody could go down. It
Mm.
genuinely is quite a competitive relegation fight this season because of the lack of resources in the league, because of the tendency of promoted clubs to do quite well when they come up to La Liga. So it's interesting because the league does seem to be very divided this season. I think that, like you mentioned, the top two are a class above everybody else. There's that cabal of teams chasing European football, and there's teams who are trying to stave against relegation. So it is quite interesting how the league already, even 3 match days in, is quite kind of separated and quite demarcated.
Yeah, and I feel like now focusing really on that title race, the early title race, if you will, of Barca and Real Madrid. Yes, Barca have already dropped a point, sure. But I felt like, as has always been the case, like when a few weeks ago I went on a Real Madrid podcast and they were going after me a bit about, just about the difference between Barca and Real Madrid. And I kept going back to it where whether you're talking about financially, whether you're talking about the way that these teams are built, yes, the whole Champions League thing with Real Madrid, what they do there and the way they navigate that competition is different than Barcelona. I could argue that the way that Barcelona navigates the Copa del Rey through the years is different than the way Real Madrid, right? And it's just what trophy are we counting more and which one matters more for teams. But Barca and Real Madrid, even this season, I feel like they're looking in a mirror at one another as far as how they're going to get results, where they're going to find those results. And, both of these offenses should easily win the Liga. I think through 3 games, that's very clear that both these offenses are fully capable of just being the top team. And it's almost going to be unfair to the other offense, right? That only Robert Lewandowski's led line or Karim Benzema's led line will win the Liga. But those defenses look like the reason they will win the Liga in the early going, again, for both of these teams as well. So I don't know. Alan, do you think does it matter if Lewandowski and Benzema are battling it out for the Pichichi Trophy? Is that really going to help us decide or figure out who's going to win the Liga? Because, again, so far, it seems like these defenses are better than we expected. And that's what's making Real Madrid and Barcelona look so strong in the early going.
I think one difference between the two is that Barcelona have more options in the attacking line because, as things stand, the window hasn't closed yet, so we still have Memphis and Aubameyang in the squad, even though Memphis is probably going to leave, but Aubameyang is more uncertain, it seems. But if you have Aubameyang backing up Lewandowski, or maybe even Ferran or Anzu, who can also play through the middle, that gives you a lot more options than Real Madrid have, because Real Madrid currently only have Eden Hazard backing up Benzema. So if Benzema was to get injured or to lose his form, as unlikely as that would seem, they have a lot less to fall back on than Barcelona do. Similarly, Barcelona have options on the right wing with Rafinha and Ousmane Dembele, on the left wing with Ferran and Anzu as well. So they do have plenty of choices in those attacking positions that Madrid don't really have. They're very much reliant on Vinicius Junior and Karim Benzema to score goals, basically. And that's 2 good players to be reliant on, of course, because they're 2 world-class footballers who are clutch footballers as well. But the issue remains that if one of them was to get injured, they'd be severely lacking, whereas Barcelona have more options to choose from right now. But that could change between now and the transfer window. But yeah, defensive thing is interesting for sure. I think Barcelona have more chaos there right now. Madrid more consistency because they have the backline from last season. Of course, Rudiger has come in and he's created that issue where who you're going to play at centre back. But in general, their defensive structure is quite well organised already. The goalkeeper is indisputed. Carvajal will play right back. Either Ferdinand Mendy or David Alaba will play centre back. Either Militao and Alaba or Militao and Rudiger will play centre back, or Rudiger and Alaba, or however it works. So that's quite a solid and functional defensive unit. We know they play 3 in midfield or a double pivot with Aurelien Tchouameni, Eduardo Camavinga, Toni Kroos, Luka Modric. It's quite organised and seamless in that sense. Barcelona, by contrast, are a bit more disorganised. Obviously, you have, in my opinion, one of the most exciting centre-back partnerships in European football in Jules Koundé and Ronald Araujo, but they haven't actually played together yet because either Koundé or Araujo is playing at right back because of a lack of a right back. Xavi's been playing 3 at the back some games, 4 at the back in other games, chopping and changing. The midfield still isn't completely structured properly because of the uncertainty around Frenkie de Jong's future. The right back situation is the biggest issue for me. Left back situation too is up in the air. Marc-André ter Stegen is not in the same class of goalkeeper as Thibaut Courtois, even though his distribution is very good. He has looked better so far this season, but let's see him sustain it for a whole campaign. But
No,
there's just
let's count
more.
our chicken before they hatch. No,
What?
yeah, let's count our chicken before they hatch. No, yeah, he's back. No, yeah, he's
Yeah,
been
but
great in 3 games, but yes, I
yeah,
agree.
yeah.
It's
It's just,
just
it's
been
just kind of
3 years.
yeah. It's kind of just uncertainty in the back line. I think if they bring in a right back, and it was a good right back, Bald becomes the player we hope he can become, and they settle on that Koundé and Araujo partnership. It's a very strong defense, but it's not good to have Jordi Alba and Piqué sitting on the bench every game, the camera constantly looking at them. Like that could become a problem as the season progresses. There's just more question marks defensively for me around Barcelona than around Real Madrid, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. That fullback situation is a consideration. Because even Balde, who's now got 2 straight starts under Xavi, which was even a surprise for me at the start of this season, because as the listeners of this pod know, saw him injured for the last 2 years. He was probably the best 16-year-old left back prospect that Barcelona had, in their academy. I mean, arguably ever, if not for, I guess, Juan Moreno would be the other one who was so highly rated. And so for him to be injured for the last 2 years, kind of struggled with Barca B even last year, and then hit the ground running the way he is a surprise. Again, preseason he impressed. And you get the sense that Marcos Alonso, the reports are that he is on his way, that he is still coming, that is not yet dead. And I still don't know about that because even give me all Alba and Balde or give me Alba, Balde, and Alonso, I feel the same way about that left back rotation. If anything, you're stunting the growth of Balde a bit. I've been against that Alonso move for a long time. And it seems like if Xavi's out on Serginho Dest at right back, I argue that he was also should be the third option at left back, and yet it seems like he's not even an option at right back, but he seems like he's sticking around. And now you have this rotation of Dest, who's not there, who's going to have to wait till January, and also the World Cup, which is insane to me. You know, I'm arguing with, people know I have an affiliation with Major League Soccer, and I was talking to some of our talent. I was working with them, and I kind of warned them a few weeks and months ago, like, hey, whether injury or rotation, it's not guaranteed that Serginho Dest is going to be hit the World Cup running. And that is unfortunately proven to be true. As much as I do believe in him, it seems like that positional play is something that Xavi's never going to be down for. And so then it leaves you with Sergio Roberto, who I said is going to play a lot more this season than Barca fans are going to be happy with. But looking at right back in that market, you have Sant Munier from Dortmund, and they don't really want to sell. You know, and even how much of an upgrade is he truly going to be over having to play Araujo, or it looks like Koundé at a position. And I would actually see after Real Valladolid, Koundé didn't look completely comfortable. He was also his first professional debut for Barcelona at home. It's a big moment. It's a big deal for even, again, he's only 23, reminder for that. But the one player you didn't even mention on the back line for Barcelona is the one who started all 3 games so far for Xavi. And, I think, now this is a safe space, Alan, but I can tell you that with Kool-Aid, once you get back on Twitter, it's no longer a safe space when talking about Eric Garcia. But that's a hill that I was willing to die on. And, we get some right, we get some wrong, right? Serginho Dest, I got that one wrong. It looks like I got that one wrong. But Eric Garcia, it looks like I got that one right this season to start the year. His distribution seems like Barca don't need a left center back who's left-footed, because you have a right center back who can play on the left in Eric Garcia, who also can ping 30, 40-yard diagonal balls with his left foot. So it seems like that's not an issue. Xavi's comments about his future captaincy is very telling for a 21-year-old who, from the age of 20, having come from being a bit player from from Man City, to now starting the first 3 games for Barca this campaign. Who knows what the future holds for Eric Garcia, right? I mean, it's Bayern Munich in less than 2 weeks, so there's a good chance that, obviously, Eric Garcia, the Kool-Aids are going to say, how can we possibly have him on the field, depending on what Bayern Munich forwards or Sadio Mane does to Eric Garcia. But so far, what is proven right to me is that Eric Garcia is by far good enough to be starting in many games in the Liga and against many of the Liga attackers this year. So I've said my piece. I've defended Eric Garcia for a long time. But yeah, how do you rate Eric Garcia? Are you as worried about his foils or the issues that we know he has, right? His weaknesses that are on full display as others?
No, I like Eric. Like, to be fair, I do like him. And even last season, when everybody was kind of going after him, especially with the Spanish national team, I always defended him slightly because I was kind of saying, if Luis Enrique and Xavi Hernandez and Pep Guardiola all see something in him, then there's something there. Like, they're not all wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what I will say is, having gone and signed Koundé, like, he's not playing right back. Like, he won't play right back. Like, speaking after the game on Saturday night, he kind of made it clear, I'm not a right back. I'm a centre back who had to play right back. Araujo is a different case because he's more amenable to playing there. He's kind of much more of the club. He's kind of saying, I'll play wherever on the pitch that I'm needed, basically. That's his mentality. That's his personality. But Koundé is a very unique character from a mentality point of view. He's a killer. He's an absolute killer. And he will have come to Barcelona on the insurance that he's going to be the starting centre-back. I have no doubt about it whatsoever. So if they're playing in the back 4, I think Koundé starts. And for me, although I like Eric Garcia, I think Araujo is a much better defender than Eric Garcia. I think the partnership has to be Koundé and Araujo. I just can't see any other way. And I agree with you. I think there's a surplus of centre-backs there because, as well as that, you also have, obviously, Gerard Piqué. So it's kind of a difficult rotation to manage, kind of a cadre of centre-backs. It's difficult to work that out properly.
And
So
Christensen above PK on the depth chart.
Christensen as well. I completely forgot about Christensen as well. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I don't really see the logic in that. Like I think that you should have a starting 11 and players can play themselves into that, but I don't see the logic of signing, you know, Christensen and Koundé in the same summer if you're going to start Christensen and sorry, if you're going to start Araujo and Garcia. Do you know? I just don't get it. Like,
I mean, we're already seeing though when Barcelona have the ball, it's a 3-4-3. Like this isn't a four at the back. When Barcelona have the ball, especially, I think that's the reason why Balde is starting even over Alba. That Balde is a left winger. That's what he is in that system so far, and that's what he's proven to be. Now, his final product has been the issue, and again, that's completely understandable. He's 18 years old. He's barely played offensively, and his teammates at lower levels, again, were also teenagers or they were third division players. And so it's going to take a little time for him to catch up to speed to be able to. We saw the assist to Lewandowski, of course, against Real Sociedad, but I think it's going to take Balde some time to get that final ball, figure that out. But I mean, physically, his tools are on full display so far. But again, he is a winger, and I think that being Barcelona, we're seeing that they're careening towards that three at the back just in perpetuity, both offensively and defensively. And just being able to incorporate Koundé, I think is going to take some time to figure that out as to where Eric Garcia fits, where Koundé fits. Because again, you kind of lose a bit of what Eric Garcia gives you by pushing him farther out in the three at the back system. Because having Eric Garcia defend on the wing is, that's the kind of thing that I wake up in a cold sweat
it's
about.
asking for trouble. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's clearly the issue with Xavi, and he even made comments about this, that we're concerned with three at the back because defensively we're going to lose something. And I think that's very true in the same way that Sergio Busquets, so much of what he defensively contributes, and even in the build-up, is dropping a little bit deeper. But if you have three at the back, will he be dropping as deep? Is that going to create gaps between the midfield line and the forward line? I mean, and then again, you're once more asking Pedri to do too much and cover too much ground. So now let's transition a little bit, talk about Real Valladolid.
Yeah, just before we do, I don't like the three at the back system, to be honest with you. I don't like it for possession teams. I think it doesn't work. And I think that that's being done in part because he's been playing centre backs at right back. If you were to bring in a proper right back, I think it would change the shape of the team somewhat. And I don't know, maybe that could still be Dest because like we already seen from Xavi that if Dest doesn't leave this summer and he's still part of the squad, he could be used. Like Dembele was used. You know what I'm saying? Like we'll see what happens. I think having a player of Dest ability, and I don't think he's a world class footballer. I don't think he ever will be. I don't think he's a Barcelona player, but I think that having a player of his profile at the right back position could help the team more than hinder it, and having a centre back playing there. So I don't know. I think it's kind of counterproductive because we need to see how the squad shapes up, and we know Barcelona things will change between now and Thursday night. So we'll see what happens. Is Alonso going to come in? Will Meunier come in? Will Hector Bellerin come in? Will Aubameyang still be here? Will Memphis still be here? Will Dest still be here? We don't know. So we'll see what happens. I think the fact that the transfer window has been extended into September, as it always is a negative for Barcelona right now because it kind of fosters uncertainty. But we can move on to Valladolid.
Give me, Alan, 3 things that La Liga fans should be looking out for, because I'm trying to get Culés and Madridistas, they should do the same thing, not to root for other teams, but to watch La Liga. Because again, with the financial interests of the Premier League, with the issue that La Liga have had in registering players and bringing in players, this league is on, especially in the American and English-speaking market and the Canadian market and the British market, and even in Nigeria, and India, for English-speaking areas, and many of the listeners of this podcast, there's, I think, going to be something after this summer in the Liga that says they lost quality. All they did was lose quality. Why am I watching Spanish football? Why am I watching outside of Barca, Real Madrid if no other teams have quality footballers? Because they all just kept getting bought, and only 2 teams can even bring in good footballers. So I want three reasons or 3 things to watch for in the Liga this year.
It is an interesting moment in Spanish football because I think this summer more than most has been a real blow in terms of financially, like losing Diego Carlos, a starting centre back for Champions League club, to a lower mid-table Premier League team. Losing.
Then he's lost for season, and then he's not even playing this year. So it's not even like he's not even an ambassador for La Liga because he's just on the shelf, right?
Yeah. Isaac as well going to Real Sociedad. Carlos Soler today, the kind of face of Valencia, going to PSG. it's a bad time really in
That one hurts
competitive La
too.
Liga outside of the big two, you could say.
Oof.
Uh,
Soler hurts. Soler
yeah,
hurts.
and even bringing in Cavani instead of Soler, I mean, like Cavani's a geriatric, like he's 35 years old, he's injury prone, like he's a faded star, you know. So it is difficult at the moment to look at it positively. Maybe by the end of the window it'll be different. But if I were to pick three things this season, and not just three clubs, you mean just three things in general, right?
I want to give you as much space
Okay.
as
Okay.
as you need.
So I would say the European places this season is going to be a very interesting battle for sure. That's probably the most competitive thing this year because I think that Barcelona and Real Madrid are going to get a lot of points, I would say we could look be back in the days of them racking up, I don't know, 90 points, that kind of area, because of the quality they have in comparison to the others. It's going to be a two-horse title race for sure, I would say. We're going to see Leva and Benzema fighting it out for that golden boot, and we'll see the two teams fighting for the title. Who wins? You could, I think, at the moment you could flip a coin. Really, I think it's that simple. It's
Mhm.
going to be quite competitive, quite close. So that's kind of a not a foregone conclusion, but that's what it's going to be. But in the European places, just so many things to look out for. You have the Seville clubs, Sevilla and Real Betis, in opposite forms. Sevilla are on the way down, Betis on the way up. Sevilla full of negativity, crisis almost. Betis full of positivity and optimism. So that's an interesting kind of mini narrative to follow. And it's the only city in the country where those two teams are in such a straight battle, I think. I think
Mhm.
Madrid has it. I don't think any other city in the country has it. Then you have the likes of, as I mentioned earlier, you know, Real Sociedad, Villarreal, and Atletico Madrid, who are kind of, you know, fighting for the rest of the European places too. I would say Atletico are on a level above. I would say they'll finish third for sure. Even though they not started the season particularly well, I would back them to finish third by a considerable distance. But the four places up for grabs between the other, I would say, four contenders, and Real Sociedad, Real Betis, Sevilla, and Villarreal. And it could be really any of those four teams that make it, which would be very interesting for sure. And we've seen in the Premier League how they've made a narrative around the top four place. And then, of course, there's the Conference League place and the Europa League place between, I don't know, maybe Valencia, Athletic Club, Osasuna as well are up there. So there's things to look out for there for sure in the European places. Two, I would
Oh, I
say,
mean, you kind of said Benzema and Lewandowski. I'll give you one and two.
yeah,
So
I think because that's two like they are old. We can't deny that. Like they're
yeah,
in their mid 30s, but they're still world class and they're still phenomenal footballers, and they're still for different reasons they want to prove they're the top dog. If that makes sense. Like I mean, Benzema is the best striker in La Liga last season. He was, but Messi had gone. And there was no real contender like Iago Aspas. I mean, come on, really? Like that's not really a proper rival for that number one spot, right? I mean,
yeah.
Aspas is a brilliant player, but he's not a world class footballer.
Well, that's really
That's
the
not,
question, right? Who's going to
yeah,
be? I'm wondering who's going to be that third striker, that third talismanic figure that is going right. Because you're right. Like Iago Aspas is still maybe that player. Like he might be number three on that list, right? Is
he
it?
started well this season as well. Before,
Yeah, I mean, is João Felix going to ascend? I mean, that's one of the questions I have for Atletico Madrid, right? Is he going to ascend? I know he's on a number nine, but is he going to become this must-see forward in the Liga? He's on all the promotional stuff because when the Liga, Liga do need stars to promote, and if it's not Barcelona and Real Madrid, then João Felix has to definitely be one of those players. But yeah, looking up and down the rest of these Liga teams, I mean, again, losing Carlos Soler, there's an argument that non-Barcelona Real Madrid, Carlos Soler was a top five player in the Liga. Maybe, I mean, top. I mean, there's an argument that he was that important, not only to Valencia but to the other teams in the Liga to be one of their stars. So I do certainly wonder. I mean, I guess I guess that's the exciting part of it, right? Like even watching Real Sociedad with Kubo, like there will be new stars created. I guess I'm not to say I'm taking the third one from you, but I kind of want you to extrapolate on my third one for you. That I'm interested to see and watching these other teams to see which players become more household names around the Liga. And the problem for the Liga is if no players do that, if there are no stars, new stars created, right? Like if Carlos Soler is gone, who is going to step into that place? Because obviously Danny Parejo, he was never really marketable for Valencia. Now even Villarreal is learning that he's just an old captain. He's not a marketable player, but who is Valencia now going to be able to market in that spot? Is it going to be a Yunus Musa, right? Is it going to be this next player? Do they have that next player, or Valencia going to just not get results and struggle? And you can't have 20 or you can't have 18 teams in the Liga all struggling and not having stars. There are going to be players that are going to step up. So I'm really interested to see who those new stars are going to be and who the league also pushes. And if the league can handle pushing new stars.
Well, that's it. I don't think they can, to be honest. Like, I'm really critical of the way La Liga market itself. Like, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the YouTube channel, I don't know if you've seen that recently, but this season they've gotten rid of all commentary and they've edited it strangely. It's bizarre. Like, I mean, it's the only top five league without commentary. It's just poor. And then regarding, stars at the top two, it's difficult because if you look at strikers, say, who are typically the most sexy players in football, Joao Felix, you mentioned, who's, I think, had a really big season this year, but he's not an out and out goal scorer. He's not going to score
Yeah.
and compete with the two lads. I mean, that's more maybe Morata's territory outside of Atletico. I mean, there's not many strikers there. I mean, you've Gerard Moreno, who's a very good player, but he's injury prone. Isaac has left the club. Sevilla don't have a striker. Borja Iglesias is a good player, but he's not an elite goal scorer. So there's not really many strikers to choose from outside of the elite and maybe Iago Aspas. And then, yeah, there's always the chance that other players will step up. And I think for people who like and love Spanish football and follow Spanish football, they will learn about those players and they will get to know those players and they will champion those players. But it's difficult given how La Liga markets itself to the outside world. It's created this kind of echo chamber where if you watch La Liga, you watch La Liga TV. You don't watch BT Sports or whatever. So it's kind of a bit isolated there. And I think that they don't have the economic know-how to pivot in a way that showcases the talent they have. So even if there are young players coming through, they can't market them in the same way other leagues can. So I think that's a big challenge for them for sure. And yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be negative, but I'm not wholly positive this season about La Liga. I think that outside the top two and the European places, maybe it's difficult to find guys who are capable of stepping up and being major characters because that's what football fans want. They want characters, they want storylines, they want narratives they can invest themselves in. Whereas there's too many anonymous footballers in La
Hmm.
Liga, in my opinion, and that takes away from it because the Premier League, for instance, is the best in the world, maybe even in the world of football, at building narratives around their clubs, even the smaller clubs. Brentford, they're a really sexy recruitment model. Newcastle can
Yeah.
illegally through questionable means. Can this giant get back on its feet? There's all these different narratives on different clubs, so every single game is something writing on it. Do you know what I mean? So it's lacking that in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that these stars do step up and new narratives are created. But at the moment, a week before the transfer window closes, I'm not wholly confident or optimistic about it. To be honest with you, I think that Barcelona and Real Madrid will continue to carry the bulk of the league's commercial attractiveness. If that makes sense. And I think it will be that way for a while.
Yeah, for sure. I know these are two former Real Madrid players, but I was thinking the other day, what's the difference between Borja Mayoral and Hugo Duro, other than like 3 years? But there's nothing, and right, and I think those moves to me kind of summed up what La Liga was, right? It's like it kind of looking at the transfers around the league. I mean, the big reinforcements for all these teams were just coming from La Liga. They were coming from other Spanish teams, and they were either running down their contracts and it felt a bit like a carousel, as you said, of these mid card players, like
Yeah,
not these stars, these
and
mid
also
card.
just with the La Liga thing, it's like with the registrations, it's good in the short term because it ensures the clubs are healthy, but it's damaging the product. You know what I mean? Because like
Oh,
you've
100%.
Real Betis who finished fifth last season, and they might have to sell Willian Jose to be able to sign Hector Bellerin. Like there's 2 days left in the window, 3 days left in the window. They've not registered Claudio Bravo or Willian Jose, and they want to
Hmm.
sign Hector Bellerin, and they can't. Arsenal have literally terminated his contract, practically, and they can't sign him. Like that's not healthy. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like so,
Yeah.
like I'm not a huge fan of Tebas at all, to be honest with you. But I think what is happening to La Liga right now is very dangerous because the decisions you make in the short term are harmful in the medium to long term. Do you know what I'm saying? Like so.